Hey, family, welcome to episode 20 of my enrolled agent career. Tonight, I do have a special guest. Sorry if I disappointed you last episode and you were just stuck with me. But as I said before, there were some things that I felt like after you'd received all this inspiration from other enrolled agents, there were things that I wanted to give you that you could actually implement to get your firm started today. But now let's transition to New York. Tonight's guest is one that I met a few years ago serving on a committee, and then I had the pleasure of meeting them in person at an NAEA fly-in in Washington, D.C. This person is quiet but powerful and definitely making moves in their practice. So, in tonight's episode, I'm honored to have them as my guest so that they can share the experiences that they've had being an enrolled agent with you. So, with no further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Jay Shah.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Hi, Jay. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
So, Jay, there's a question that I ask everyone who's on here. How did you find out about the EA designation, and then what made you want to sit for the exam?
Yeah, so I think I was studying for the CPA when I was in my first job, and then the EA was also an option to get manager. A lot of my colleagues had the EA exam, so I thought, why not do this?
Cool. So, with that being said, you do have like a traditional accounting background.
I
Okay.
do have a traditional background.
So, that is similar to my story. I tell people, like, yes, I was like, I need these 150 hours. I'm going to take the CPA exam. Then in my job, I fell in love with taxes. And then understanding how much the CPA exam covered that, I was like, it doesn't seem as relevant anymore. So, when you sat for the exam and you noticed that other people had it, what was it that was like, yeah, this is what I should do over the CPA exam? Or is the CPA exam something that's on the back burner for you?
Yeah, so I think I knew that I wanted to specialize in tax. I really had no interest at that time to go and audit. So I looked at it and I said the pros and cons, and it looks like I could do everything a CPA can for tax. Why not just do the EA exam?
Yeah. My thoughts exactly. I was like, I have the same authority and power here, so what am I doing? So, when you were in that position with your job and like you said the EA was an option, did you have the benefit of like your job was going to pay for you to take the exam as well, or is it just something that they made you aware of?
Yeah, I don't think they made me aware of it. I just saw a lot of colleagues have it, but they did not offer a class for it. They offered classes for the CPA exam, but I felt like the EA exam is where I want to go, so I went that way.
Awesome. So if you can remember, which EA system did you use to study?
Yeah, I used Fast Forward Academy. So I did part three, then part one, then part two.
Okay. So this is a question I get often. People will ask me what order you have to take them in. I am so very type A. I say it's not a requirement, but I did one, two, three. So what made you said three, one, and two? So
Yeah,
what
so
made you decide
look,
to go in that order?
I looked at the book, and three was the shortest section, one was the second shortest, and two was the longest.
Well, there you guys have it.
Yeah, I think it's
So
also based on easiness and difficulty. I want to get some momentum going to the hardest part.
that is a good tip for those who may have test anxiety as well. Um, because you have a traditional accounting background, I do want to ask you this as well. Which section did you find to be the hardest
Yeah, I
and
think
why?
business is hard. Yeah, I thought business was the hardest. It's just a lot of volume. Even though you have an accounting background, it's still a lot of information to just remember, to understand, and to master.
I got you. Okay. So you see this opportunity to become an EA, although you were on track to become a CPA. I believe you said for to reach management,
That's
right?
correct.
So after you became an EA, how long was it before you started your own firm?
Yeah, so I actually had left the job that I was working at. And so in between leaving my job and starting a new job, I went from public to private.
Mm.
I passed the exam right after I started my job in private. When I didn't really need it for the promotion anymore. And then I started my practice right after.
So you started while you were still working in private, or you were like, I don't need to be in private anymore?
Yes, yes, I was still in private. I got my EA license 'cause I wanted to start my practice in conjunction with my job because I didn't want to go full time yet.
Okay. So we have a lot of listeners who are in that same position, whether it be they are still trying to build a client base. You're a business owner, so we all know how valuable having somebody else pay for your health insurance is or matching a 401k. For you, what was it that made you decide, like, hey, I'm not ready to go full time yet? I want to stay at my job.
Yeah, I think I had a really cushy corporate job, and
Mm-hmm.
I was a tax manager for one of the biggest companies in the world. And I was like, hey, let me try this out, and then I'll also try the practice. Maybe I could have dual income.
Hey, that's more than fair, especially seeing how the economy is now. We're close to the same age, so yeah, it was rough around that time when you would have been starting it. Um, so starting out and not doing it part time, because or not doing it full time. I'm sorry. This is another question that I get from people: is if I'm doing it part time, what service should I focus on? So not asking you to give them advice there per se, so they can come back and get me, not you. What did you start on, like as your service offering when you started your firm part time?
Yeah, I only offered tax prep. I didn't really do more than that.
Okay. So, my next question for you, you had the cushiony corporate job. Now you got dual income. What was it that made you transition to running your firm full time?
Yeah, so I think I left my job because I had an opportunity where a practitioner I partnered with, an older practitioner, passed away, and I had the opportunity
Hmm.
to acquire her practice.
Gotcha. So, if the door is wide open, why slam it shut, right?
So it just timing worked out.
So, what was that transition like? Well, I have a few questions there. Like, what was the transition like in that practitioner's book of business? Did they offer more services than you were offering in your firm part time?
Yeah, so the practitioner that passed away, I actually partnered with her before she passed away, and I actually did all of her complicated returns. I did all of her business, like corporations, as corporations, partnerships. Because when I worked corporate, I had that expertise, and she was like, "Hey, I want to do less." As a like an older retiring practitioner, and she said, "Hey, take this on." And then when she passed away, I had the opportunity to take over the remaining business.
I gotcha. And when you did that transition, 'cause I know some people talk about um, when they acquire a business, sometimes the owner stays on part time just to kind of ease people into it. So, with her being completely out of the picture, were clients comfortable with you already, or what was like that like for you?
Yeah, so it was a tough transition. Some of the clients had already worked with me because I had done their business returns, and the other practitioner did the individual returns, like if they have K1s. But she did have staff, and the staff did want to work with me because they knew me. So I think clients felt comfortable that I had the staff the same staff that she had, and they had some retention of the old data. But it was a hard transition.
Gotcha. And then even though you had been a manager before, having staff that you're like it's a different level of responsibility. So how did you navigate that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of responsibility because if you don't have business, you can't pay them. So you have to really make sure that you keep money coming in to pay your staff and to keep them happy.
Yeah, it's definitely different being somebody's boss, like for a company you're working for versus like being the owner and being the boss. It's like, oh shoot, sometimes you feel like a slave to payroll because it's like if we don't have work, I can't pay them, and then shoot, I still got to pay me too.
Yeah, I think I was fortunate where I was saving my main job, so I had a
Mhm.
little. Even if I didn't have the business, I would still be able to pay payroll, but it made things tight.
Understood. So you mentioned that transition being tough. When you were running your firm part time, so before acquiring this business, how did you go about getting more business? Was it partnering with other firms like you did with this person, or how did you like market yourself?
Yeah, so I did probably everything you could think of. I think I'm a master networker. So I
I'd
did
give you that.
BNI. Yeah, so BNI was the first thing I started. I learned about it at a conference. So I used to go to a lot of conferences. Like the NAEA conference was the first one that I went to. And then I met someone who said, "Hey, try BNI." So BNI is Business Networking International, where you meet with 30 business owners every week, have breakfast, and give business to each other. So I think that was a fundamental part of where I made a lot of connections, and those
Hmm.
connections to date are my go-to people for a lot of areas.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you found success with it. I'm laughing because I don't want to seem disingenuous to people who listen to other episodes. I have found no such luck with BNI. But there are people who it's amazing for, even within our industry. And then there are people like me. So maybe I'm just not doing it right. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm with the wrong group.
Yeah, I think I just found a good group where we were all on the same stage in our careers and we were all in different fields and we all grew together and we're all successful together, hopefully.
Yeah. And I think too, um there's this misconception that people have that are, I'd say, 45 and younger, that like the only way to get business is to be on all the social media platforms and all that. And I tell people, like, actually being able to shake somebody's hand and look them in the eye, that's never going to go away with helping you to build rapport and trust with somebody. So, like, I do a lot of in person networking, not nearly as much as I used to, but it's just a different type of relationship that you can build that way to be able to establish yourself and get business. So kudos to you
Yeah,
for sure. People ask me, how
I,
do you get, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I think it's good for a younger professional because it teaches you how to present yourself, how to be in a group, how to just be able to talk about what you do in front of other people.
Yeah, and not be a keyboard warrior for the EA profession. So you mentioned doing tax preparation when you first started your firm and then part time. Then the initial firm that you acquired, you had already done her complex tax returns. Did you ever, or when did you decide to dabble in tax representation?
Yeah, and I do a little bit of tax representation. I don't do a lot, maybe about 5 to 10%. So I'm still light on representation.
Okay. And just again, if there are people who are listening who maybe they haven't listened to previous episodes, do you mind explaining the difference between like tax preparation and tax representation?
Yeah, tax preparation is like when you do someone's tax return, whereas tax representation is when you're helping someone resolve an issue that they have with the IRS or the state.
Thank you, sir. And I'll point out your shiny certificate back there that we were talking about pre show. Jay is also an NTPI fellow, which is a program through the National Association of Enrolled Agents. So he is equipped to handle tax representation. Um, so, with your practice, I'm assuming, but I'll ask, is the rep work that you do handle just work from clients you already have, or are you like just not marketing for representation?
Yeah, most of the rep work I do is for clients that I prepare the return, or if there's a potential client that I want to take on, then I'll say, hey, I'll take the rep work, try to get goodwill to take them on as a client.
Understood, understood. Well, I have some insight, not as much, more insight than our listeners do, that is not the only practice that you have acquired. So I have a question here for you.
Sure.
People ask me, um, like I want business now, like I should just go buy somebody else's business. And I'm like, it's not quite that easy. Although I'd say within the past 5, 10 years, it might be a little bit easier with so many people wanting to retire. What was it though about acquiring a firm that interested you? Since you've done it more
Yeah,
than one time now.
yeah. So what I always tell everyone is that if you start a business, you don't have like you're growing your own business, you have to really build it. It takes time. Whereas if you
Hmm.
acquire a business, you get that growth instantaneously, but you pay for it. So when you buy a practice, you're paying someone for their quality of clients. So the attractiveness is that when you acquire a practice, you might get clients that are quality, not just random people you get on the street. They're not vetted. Whereas a practice may have vetted clients and people that are nice, and you don't have to worry about the craziness.
Gotcha. So that takes me to another question I'm often asked when people are talking about this. A lot of people are like, okay, well, I look at their revenue, it looks good. So without talking about retention yet, what is something else that you look for? Because you mentioned quality clients, because there's a huge difference between purchasing a firm, acquiring a firm that has a lot of quantity versus quality clients.
Yeah, I think when it comes to quality, you want clients that obviously pay well. You want clients that are organized, clients that don't come on April 15th, clients that understand that, hey, I value you as a practitioner. I understand I had someone for 30 years. I trust them. I feel like I could just call them with an issue, not just they know they value you, and you just feel more satisfied when people you're working with value your expertise.
Absolutely. So now with you having acquired firms, um, what does that look like in the world of remote accounting firms? Like, do you have multiple locations? Everybody remote? Can you kind of tell us like what that looks like?
Yeah, so I only have one location. I'm located in New York in Hell's Kitchen, but I do have Zoom and Google, so I can meet clients anywhere as long as they're booked on my calendar.
Gotcha. But you do also have a team, right? Sorry, I left that part out of the question. Like how do you manage that with the teams as well? Like when you were acquiring a firm, I heard you say with the first one, like you kept the staff. Like what does that look like? Because now you have these blended families that you're trying to manage.
Yeah, so I was fortunate because the first practice I acquired, I actually knew the staff, so I had known them pretty well, and they knew how I worked somewhat. Uh, but my team, they're a little old school, and they prefer not to talk to clients. So really, the onus comes on to me, and I think that's a tough point for a lot of practitioners to find workers or like employees that want to talk to clients and that feel
Mm-hmm.
comfortable in their nature. I think both of my staff have been doing taxes for a long time, so I was very fortunate because they're both 10 to 15 years of experience. So it was like, yay, I'll take these these two guys who are amazing, who actually understand. the client and the work. So it worked out for me, but I think it's hard for a lot of other practitioners to find good people.
Yeah, for sure. I've had difficulty with that myself. Like you said, there are the people, and nothing against those people. Some people love taxes, but like you said, the conversation piece just isn't their thing. And then you have some people who's like, your tax skills are kind of sketchy, but they love to talk to the client. Like if you can explain the return, then have at it. How long has it been now since you have been an EA and had your firms?
Yeah, so I became an EA in 2014. I started
Okay.
my practice in 2015, and I went full time in my practice about 3 years ago.
Awesome. So, first, congratulations on 10 years in business. That's a huge accomplishment. Um, for people who may be listening to this and they're like, okay, I'm kind of in the same situation that Jay was in. I have a cushiony corporate job, but I know eventually I do want to do this full time. What advice or things would you give them to look at before making that leap?
Yeah, I think it's more of a lifestyle decision. When I worked corporate, I was working 40 hours, high stress. Not saying that owning your own practice is not high stress, but you're
Yeah,
on your own terms. You don't have set hours. You have to be more responsible. It's based on your journey, right? If you want to make more money, you work harder. If you want to work less, you can. Uh, like for us, I wanted to leave my corporate job so I could have the opportunity to travel a little bit more. And for practice owners, November and December is slow, so it's a great opportunity where you can travel for a month if you want to. Whereas corporate, you can't just say, "Hey, boss, I'm leaving for a month."
gotcha. So, and I tell people too, it depends on what you're willing to sacrifice. Because like you said, if money's not coming in, if I got to go to Dave Ramsey's Beans and Rice, then so be it. But I'm on my own time schedule.
Yeah, and when you work a corporate job, you get a 401k match. They give you free money for just for being there, whereas you don't get that here. You have to really it's up to you now.
Gotcha. So basically, we're looking at what kind of lifestyle we want to live before making the leap.
Yep. And then your clients, you could determine what type of clients you want. Like you have an option to take on who you want, when you want, and why you want.
Gotcha. So, with that, have you found yourself in, I guess I'll say, in a bind, right? I know I have, where you have this newfound freedom. You can work with whoever you want, whenever you want. Like, it's kind of ish on your terms because sometimes if your firm's not set up right, you just have a lot of different bosses
Yeah.
instead of clients. Have you found yourself in a position where you're like, okay, I'm on my own now, but I have to let this client go? And what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I think there's always been times where you don't want to prepare a return where you don't feel comfortable. And I've
Mm-hmm.
had situations where a client comes in and is just lying. I'm like, I don't want to sign this return. So sometimes you have to say, hey, I'm not the best fit. Go to someone else or do it yourself.
Yeah, I would I would definitely say since I've been in business for myself, I've faced way more ethical dilemmas than working for somebody else. And yeah, it's one of those things where you just have to draw the line and be like,
Yeah,
I know you're lying. Like, I don't even want you to sign off saying this is true. Like, I wouldn't even be like meeting my due diligence requirements.
yeah. It's also not worth like losing sleep over because you could get another client, but you don't want to just keep thinking about something that, oh, I really should not have done that.
Agreed.
I
Or
think
put
it
your
messes with your energy and your vibe a little bit.
most definitely. And what I like to say too, in this industry, all we have is our reputation. So, like, one client can ruin all of that and take you away from the work that you enjoy doing.
Correct.
So, Jay, In your experience with starting a firm while you're still working, acquiring different firms, what is a piece of advice that you would give somebody who is trying to figure out whether or not they want to go the route of acquiring firms versus taking the time to build their own out?
Yeah, I think if you're new to taxes, talking to other practitioners and saying, "Hey, what do you do for a living? Like, what do you do every day? Like, what's your day to day?" I think going and asking just people you know that are in tax, or even if you don't know, reaching out to local CPAs and saying, "Hey, what do you do normally? Like, what's your day to day? Why do you like what you do?" I think asking people and just hearing what they say can help you make your decision.
Gotcha. So for you, because you didn't know about EA, so you saw the associates with it, is that how you went about being like, yeah, this is what I want to do? Like what kind of answers did you get?
Yeah, I think I wasn't at the time. I was in a time crunch, so I was asking around, "Hey, how do I pass CPA, or how do I pass something so I get into that manager role?" But asking around, a lot of people said, "Hey, we took the EA exam. It gives you everything you can for tax, the authority to sign returns, to do representation, and it's a little bit easier as long as you understand tax. Right? You just have to understand. The test is all based on tax, and at that time, I had about 5 years of experience in tax already.
Gotcha. So insights that you're not going to find on YouTube University or Google. Again, reaching out to your network and making real life connections.
Yeah, and even not in your network. Sometimes reaching out outside your network, you might get better answers because in your
Mm,
network, you're going to get the same answers sometimes.
very, very true. So I think you said not as many anymore. That may have been me. Sorry. As far as the in-person conferences and networking, you mentioned BNI. What are some other like groups, networks, conferences that you would recommend for people who are looking to build their professional network or get good continuing education?
Yeah, so I think if you're into tax, going to tax conferences is probably the best thing. You meet a lot of other similar like interest people. But I've also joined non-tax networks and made a lot of connections, where like a voice organization or like a soccer or tennis organization. Sometimes networking outside of just the accounting world might help you too, because you got to remember everyone's got to do taxes. That means everyone's dependent.
That's a good piece of advice for networking to get business. But to piggyback off of that as well, other business conferences do actually provide value in addition to potential clients because sometimes we get so locked into like, well, my network has to be accountants. Like, there are other ways to run a business that may be more efficient that we're not seeing just because we have like April 15 tunnel vision, right? IRS tunnel vision. So I I didn't even think about like the different sports organizations and stuff. Like, yeah, I talk to my people next to me when I get my season ticket to games. That is
Yep.
networking. So, in your journey, since you've been an enrolled agent, if there was one thing that you could change, what would that one thing be?
I think I probably would have started my own practice sooner, only because I really enjoy talking to people and working with people. I think I was probably in the corporate route a lot longer than I probably should have been.
Do you know, have an idea of why you stayed there in that corporate role?
I think the pay was very good. I had a really good team that I was working with, but I didn't see any growth opportunities there. At a certain point, you're stuck, right? Because you can't get promoted until the person above you. Whereas in your own practice, there's no one holding you back if you want to grow or get bigger or give yourself a promotion.
You go out there and get the money and get it. Got you. So definitely making sure that you're betting on yourself. Well, Jay, I appreciate you taking the time out to speak with me today, to speak with the listeners. 10:15 is right around the corner, and you already mentioned you all do a lot of preparation. So I know it was a sacrifice for you to be here today.
No, that's a pleasure to be here.
Well, for the listeners, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Jay. Make sure you come back on next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern for episode 21. If you are interested in starting your own EA firm, you can join the free community, How to Start an EA Firm, at www.americasfavoriteea.com. I'll see you guys in the next episode.